the globalists have to crack down with this police state here domestically, so they've got to launch false flags attacks. Now, if you go back in mid-September, and in Kurt Nemo's article, he breaks all this down and has the video of yours truly, Alex Jones, in September breaking down exactly what would happen. And again, I'm not bragging I broke down exactly what happened. I'm saying we know what we're talking about. This stuff's all hidden in plain view. Go read Kurt Nemo's article and then watch the 15-minute video where I said what was going to happen. I said it's going to come out that Israel and the U.S. together designed this. It's going to come out that Israel launched it, and they're going to use it to call for the end of Internet freedom as we know it and the cybersecurity takeover of the web, and they're going to launch further false flag attacks on the web, but that will happen after they hype up that the attacks are coming. What do 9,000 locations have going in right now? Giant telescreens. What are they now announcing? Cybersecurity attack, prepare for it, don't trust the web, the feds have to take over the web to protect it. So they're now entering that sector of a false flag attack on the web. They're now beginning to parrot that. When they bring in the full depression, the full dollar devaluation, are they going to let people be on the air? Probably not, folks. They'll probably trump something up if they go ahead with this. We're right up to the stalemate right now. They're waiting to move with total martial law. They're waiting to move with total oppression, total tyranny. Right now, they're lined up on our border like Hitler lined up on the Polish border. Now, if we stand up to them and tell them we know what they're doing, and if we have courage, they may back off and may backstep, as Lindsey Williams said yesterday. These people are not invincible. If they think you're going to go along with it, though, they are going to do it. Now, I told you the government launched that attack. And here it is. Israel test on worm called crucial in Iran nuclear deal delay. Again, Israel's test on worm called crucial in Iran nuclear delay. And then they have the U.S. government and others saying that they tested the jointly made super worm at the Israeli Dimona nuclear facility because they have similar centrifuges and computers as to the Iranians, and that they worked with Israel and then launched it. Now, the issue here is they launched it, and then they came out a month later. This is 3 months ago, a month into it. They launched it 3.5 months ago. And I predicted, and they did a month later, now 2 months ago, that they would then say, see, we've got to have cybersecurity takeover of the web, and NATO's announcing they've got to track everybody in real time, which they're already doing. They're just letting you now know that you have no privacy, no Fourth Amendment. In Europe, they have similar laws about illegal wiretapping and authoritarian systems. They're just saying, we don't care, it's to protect you. When NATO is, again, the European arm of the narcotics trade, child kidnapping, all over the news, and they're going to protect you from the child kidnapping and the drugs they're now announcing. Satan is going to protect you from Beelzebub. Beelzebub is going to protect you from Baphomet. Baphomet is going to protect you from Leviathan. Leviathan is going to protect you from Set. Set is going to protect you from the old serpent. The old serpent is going to protect you from the devil. Confirmed, Stuxnet was false flag launched by Israel and the United States. And on Saturday, the gray lady of establishment propaganda, the New York Times, passively admitted that the Stuxnet virus responsible for crippling Iran's nuclear energy program and bouncing back to the U.S. was engineered by Israel and the U.S. intelligence. And it goes on. It goes on to break it all down. Let me just read to you from the New York Times, and we'll go to your calls. Israel test on worm called crucial in Iran nuclear delay. The Dimona complex at the Negev Desert is famous as the heavily guarded heart of Israel's never-acknowledged nuclear arms program. It's all admitted, but then if they don't say so, then we're not allowed to talk about it. Where neat rows of factories make atomic fuel for the arsenal. Over the past 2 years, according to intelligence and military experts familiar with its operations, Dimona has taken on a new, equally secretive role as a critical testing ground in a joint American and Israeli effort to undermine Iran's efforts to make a bomb of its own. Behind Dimona's barbed wire, the experts say, Israel has spun nuclear centrifuges virtually identical to Iran's, where Iranian scientists are struggling to enrich uranium. They say Dimona tested the effectiveness of the Stuxnet computer worm, a destructive program that appears to have wiped out roughly a fifth of Iran's nuclear centrifuges and helped delay, though not destroy, Tehran's ability to make its first nuclear arms. To check out the worm, you have to know the machines, said American expert of nuclear intelligence. The reason the worm has been effective is the Israelis tried it out. So there they are, just admitting all this, but then simultaneously Kurt's article links to Jay Rockefeller, Lieberman, and a bunch of others in the last couple months saying, we've got to give up internet freedom. We've got to have the Pentagon, through cybersecurity, take over the entire web. If you have an ISP company with more than 100 customers, you've got to take government training, and they're now announcing, and get a government license to even operate internet servers, and that you've got to put pieces of equipment in, they say, that openly snoop on everything. This goes back to the 96 Telecommunications Act, where they paid $9 billion to the major telecoms to put the whole, buildings and whole floors added on to the AT&T and other systems that everything then runs through. But see, the big companies said give us money to do that. With little people, they just say, you're an indentured servant. Indentured servitude. We don't care if it violates the Constitution. You will put in all this equipment. Kind of like the EAS system under FEMA in 96. It didn't pay cable, broadcast TV, UHF, VHF, AM, FM, shortwave to put an EAS FEMA box in at the transmitter, remote controlled by shortwave, now by satellite, where every radio station in the country under FCC licensure is under full government control, and you have to pay for that. Well, now they're just going to wire basically EAS software into everything. And what do they say they need it for? Because the Chinese launched the Stuxnet, or the Russians did, sure, and the Easter bunnies did too. The Pentagon has to take the web over. They have to get rid of your speech. They have to recruit all the young kids out of high school to be part of their new cybersecurity army. They have to put up big telescreens in all the major shops and shopping malls now, going in now, telling you to watch out on the internet and watch your neighbors, because they're getting ready to hammer the internet. They're getting ready to tax it. They're getting ready to have Internet ID, tracking you where you go. That was put in 4 years ago into all the Microsoft operating systems. It's just they're waiting, that little kernel. But now Obama announces it last week. Yes, for the children's safety, right as NATO announces it. The total grid going into place right now. And they're doing it all after the U.S. and Israel launched the Stuxnet. And we wrote an article about this, and I saw comments on InfoWars in an article saying, how dare you attack Israel, you traitor? How dare you, Jones? You're going to get it. Because I'm reporting that Israel and the U.S. government have launched yet another false flag, and then publicly brag about it and say, I've got to give up my free speech for the love of Israel's corruption. And then there's the other schizophrenics in there commenting, look at Jones covering up for Israel again, schizophrenically, as I called up Kurt Sunday and we wrote that article together. And I told Kurt the areas I thought were important, sent him over some of the links and statements, then we collaborated on that article. I mean, this is the insanity of people trying to make everything about Alex Jones. Either I'm bad for talking about what Israel's up to, or I'm not hating Israel properly. Well, the truth is, I don't hate Israel, I don't hate China, I don't hate Germany, I don't hate the U.S. I hate the corrupt forces that are in there, but it isn't about Alex Jones. And that's this mental illness that I'm sick of. It isn't about me. We've all been trained to fight with each other. Have you ever gone crab fishing? I mean, you can just take a piece of bacon or a piece of ham and throw it in, no hook, just a weight, and the crabs are so greedy that you can slowly pull them up, like a dog, you're playing tug of war with. You can slowly pull up a crab and then have your net and grab them up. And when you got about 5 or 6 crabs in the big bucket, they'll be trying to crawl out. And if they work together like fire ants, they would get out. But when they don't attack each other till one tries to climb out and leave. Misery likes company. And when one crab starts trying to climb out to get away, the others come over and grab them. And I was going through some of my YouTube videos, the fluoride video we launched, and another one about how they're training citizens to spy on each other and saying if somebody buys guns or somebody's talking about politically controversial things, go ahead and call Homeland Security on them. And I was covering that in the video, and so I was, just seeing the hit counts. And I'm like, oh, 80,000 in 3 days, that's not bad. Oh, only 25,000 views in 2 days on my fluoride special that's 10 minutes long and documents it. Man, that's too bad. I wish it was being seen by more. And I looked down at one of the first comments, and it said, Alex Jones is pure scum. He's not having attorney Cryer on, who got a jury trial and found that the IRS, was basically unconstitutional and that he got off in a jury trial on failure to file. What a piece of trash. What a coward. What an agent. And I just looked at that, and I wasn't hurt by the fact that he was calling me a coward and an agent and scum. I was hurt by the fact that I looked at the guy's channel, and he had a lot of good videos and things on there, and a lot of interviews I'd done with people. The good fruit that I've provided, the good work I've done, not because I want accolades, but because I want to defeat tyranny. I want a future. And I've interviewed Tommy Cryer, I think 3 or 4 times on that subject. I've interviewed Joe Bannister. I invited Joe Bannister to come speak at both my speeches in California. It's like it isn't about Israel working with the U.S., launching the Stuxnet and trying to use it to take our free speech away in America. And we have direct connections through Lieberman and others who we know are dual Israeli agents, openly saying take our free speech. And so we write an article about it and say it's wrong for Israel to launch this false flag on us and then try to take our free speech so we can just be a milk cow to supply money and weapon systems that they then sell to China. And then I criticized for telling the truth by people. I mean, Israel admits they helped launch this false flag. I just tell the truth. And so I get bashed and told I'm anti-Semitic because it has nothing to do with that. I'm exposing a corrupt government. It's like they say, are you anti-Asian because you're exposing China? I've been asked that by media. No. Am I anti-German because I criticize Hitler? Or have I criticized the fictitious Don Corleone or somebody real like John Gotti? Am I anti-Italian? I mean, this is mental illness. This is how people have been trained to be dishonest, intellectually dishonest, delusional. And just because people have woken up to the New World Order, they haven't woken up. Again, I don't grieve because so many people lie about me and who I am and build these straw men about me and attack someone who isn't Alex Jones. I get upset for them because a lot of them aren't agents. They really think I've supported the IRS. They really think I'm promoting the Federal Reserve, its owner. And so we can't have a debate about Israel running false flags or try to save the internet. It's got to be how Alex Jones works for Israel, or schizophrenically, how Alex Jones is attacking innocent little Israel when Israel is admittedly here helping launch the Stuxnet, which then our government is using to take my free speech away. It isn't about Alex Jones. It's about preserving free speech, property rights, the right to self-defense, the family. I mean, if you've got those things and a relationship with God and know there's something bigger than yourself, you've got the engine of liberty and freedom. It isn't about Alex Jones, folks. It's about waking up and fighting tyranny. Don't you get it? We've all got to hang together or hang separate. And they are coming after the internet. They are coming after free speech. They are going to run more hoaxes like the Tucson shooter, who it now admits was an absolute liberal Bush hater. That's even in the New York Times. I told you 8 days ago he was clearly a cross-dressing devil worshiper. I know the M.O. of that crew. I study different strata of society. I knew the music he was into, all of it. Boom, knew instantly. It's only devil worshipers dressing up like Grim Reapers that can go around killing people. They're into it. What do you think the Nazis did? They dressed up in black outfits and wore skulls on their hat. I mean, when you're wearing skulls on your hat, folks, you're evil. When you wear your flag openly, our troops would never have skulls on their uniforms until World War II. They started adopting some of the Nazi stuff. And then now today, it's just skulls 666 all over the helicopters. I see it on the news all the time. And, you know, when you start putting 666 on your helicopter or your tank, or got human skulls, rotten heads on the front of your Abrams tank, those guys are coming back to be cops. And you think they're going to stop driving around listening to death metal and blaring, the drowning pool? And so then we see some guy taking hallucinogens every day who gets into really destructive type music. Even if you don't believe in God and the devil, they're tuning into that archetype. They're tuning in and manifesting a love of death and destruction. But you notice I am 180 degrees the opposite direction from somebody like this guy, but I'm still being blamed for him in the news. Long after they're not blaming Sarah Palin and Rush Limbaugh anymore, they're still, today, in the news, blaming yours truly. I always get the blame. And why is that? From every side. Because I'm real, ladies and gentlemen. And people can't believe there's somebody bold and real and legitimate. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. I fund my operation as best I can. Most revolutionaries in history rob banks. Founding fathers would rob British banks to fund themselves. I don't do that. I'm pretty darn moral. I try to be moral. But it doesn't mean I'm perfect. But I want freedom. I want decency. I want to be honorable. I want to be strong. I want to be credible. I want to help people. And the New World Order knows that, and that's why they build up straw men at every level of national media, local media, alternative media. They build straw men of who I'm not, and then say I am that bad thing as an attempt to tear down the image of Alex Jones, because if they can tear down the image of Alex Jones or Ron Paul or others, who, again, aren't perfect, but are the ones that we know have good hearts and are moving in the right direction, then no one has any faith. No one believes we can have victory. No one believes we can have success. They want you to believe you've already been beaten. The globalists want to remain foggy and faceless. They don't want you to see them in the eyes for what they are, humans just like us. I mean, who knows what's going to happen to me as things get more and more hardcore, as we get bigger and bigger exponentially. We are exploding right now. And quite frankly, I'm not like, yay, for my individual self. I'm mourning that because I realize how dangerous it is. And I realize that if I don't sell out, they're going to hurt me, whether in the media or individually or physically. But I'm not going to sell out. I'm going to continue to put the pedal to the metal for liberty. Besides, I've gone too far. I can't even sell out now. I mean, I'm committed to this, and I hope you're committed to it, because where the road leads you, if we don't get off of it, it's going to be rough and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be a lot better than going down that road. And to so many people that work for the government and work for these major corporations that have sold out, man, you've sold out to something that is going to destroy you. All right.